Hey, in this episode of Doc's Boost, we're going to install this new 240 amp alternator from Tucson Alternator Exchange down in Tucson, Arizona. Now, if you've already seen my Shelby Bash 2023 Gone Wild video, then you understand why I'm going big. Because I don't want that experience in that video to ever happen to me again. So installing this alternator and then installing those cables to help with the installation, we're going to get back on the road bigger and better than ever before as far as the alternating system goes. The yellow almost matches the yellow on the car, and we're going to now size out the cables and get them installed and in place first, and then just swap out the alternator and make the connections easy peasy. Okay, one of the first things that we got to do to get started is get these 1 gauge cables ready to go. We have to route them from the battery to the alternator, and we have to start with putting connectors on them and then find a nice place to put them on the car. Let's put a connector on this and I'll show you how that's done. We've got some solder ready to go. We have one of these in the vise ready to go. So we're going to put some solder inside the hole and then just dip the cable in there. Show you how that is. That's the way I do it. I'm sure there's other people doing it a lot of different ways. So we're going to take one end of this cable. Let's make sure that it's huddled up again still in there. And then we're just going to shove this thing down in there. And that's it. We'll let that cool off. We'll add a little bit of heat sink to it, and we'll continue on with the process. I want to make sure that the cables are cut to length and ready to go and in place before I put the alternator on. I could probably lift this whole table up if the cable is attached to that connector. All right, the next thing we're going to do is put some heat shrink on here. We're going to slide the heat shrink tube down on there and shrink that baby up for a nice clean fit. Cover any gaps, protect it from corrosion down the road. So I guess we got that one done. Lay that one down and we will attack the next one. And there you go. Nice and neat. I'm going to put some red tape on this one right now and to make sure that they remain distinctly different. You know, couldn't find any red heat shrinks, so I thought maybe the tape would be the next best thing. We'll leave it, we'll just take it down from there and then just kind of wrap it. There we have it. There's the positive, there's the negative, and we're ready to now route them in the car. Take the radiator support cover off of there and look for a good route from the battery around to the alternator. Get the length, measure it up, lay it in place, do everything we got to do, and then mark the length I need, and then we'll create the ends on the other side of the cable when we get finished discovering the length and route. So we got to get this thing up in the air so we can take the panel off the bottom. We're going to take this off the top and this, because routing the cables in this direction and then following this line, go underneath the top, come around and exit and then down is an option. So we'll just get the car up in the air, take the lower panel off so we can have access to the area to see if the cables are going to lay nicely down there. Going to take this off and this off. These are a bunch of 7mm. We don't have to take the carbon fiber chin off. There we go. That's better. There we go. Set that off to the side. And then take the radiator support cover off to see if we can lay the cables underneath it. So we gotta take out some clips here so we can get this cover off. Most of the time these just pop out anyway, but these I tried to and they wouldn't do it, so I thought I'd get the screwdriver out. Now we can take this off and put it aside to protect it. We might as well take a look and see if we can lay them cables across here somewhere. It's like we can fit those cables right along here and then go down. Come around here this way, come back in this way, and go across and down. We're going to take this off, and we're going to take this off, so we can lay the cable in there somewhere and then put them back on. Alright, we got these things off. We have the positive cable connected here. We'll run it around this direction, this way, and across the top. So we're talking about that area right down there where those other cables go down, and we'll be able to fit this cable right in that space. Let's get the negative cable laid in place. We got the negative cable laid in here right now. What we're going to do now is change out the negative cable, attach the cables over here. When we connect them, we're going to have to protect the other end of the cable so we don't cause any damage. I want to get an exact layout as we do all these curving and follow the line across the top here as best we can. And by doing that, when I get down to the alternator on the bottom, I can then determine the precise length to cut and terminate both cables. It'll be real easy to attach the new power cable to the alternator by just connecting it to that same terminal there, shared by a few others. Not a big deal. No extra work involved. We're going to have to change out the negative battery terminal, attach the existing cables to it so we can attach the new cable to that as well. We're going to go with this style that's got to tighten that up a little bit. Kind of a quick release kind of an affair. Tighten that down a little bit. Put it back on there. That feels pretty tight right there. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to actually cut this off and drill a hole through there. And then attach it just the way it is to that terminal. And then attach this cable to that terminal as well. So we're going to have both of these attached to that connection when we're done. Okay, and here's the final stages of shaping and cutting. I've shaped it up pretty good, got the hole started. I just need to open it up just a little more to fit on there. I think that popped to the next step, so I think we should be good. Yep, we are good. And we have the negative connection around here somewhere. This will go on there and as well. So let's go ahead and connect that negative side now. There's that. There's that. I should swap gloves. These gloves are just horrid when it comes to doing that kind of work. Both cables connected, tie them together here. We're going to put some of this around there, make it look nice and neat. Apply a little bit of tape in a few places. Tie it together here to the existing harness. I think that's enough. I think that'll work for me. And I think now I can put these support brackets back in place. Maybe I should bring both of these cables out from this side together. If I did that like this, that looks pretty good. And that lays right in there, and that should be good. Boy, it's good. It won't be too bad if I ever got to get the radiator out. I hope. I mean, that's one thing that I haven't done yet on this car is upgrade cooling, and it's on my to-do list, but not for a while. Not for a while. And that's surprising, living here in Arizona with all the hard driving I do on the track and everything. Never overheated once, never had a heating problem ever yet. Well, I think at this point we can actually put that support cover back on here. Hide the cable a little bit, get this all dressed up, ready to drop down the hole before I put this back on. So let's take this back off for a second. Well, I think it's time to get down underneath and see what we can do from the top and bottom and pull that down before we put this cover back on. And let's see if we can't see where those cables are. There they are. Here's the positive cable coming down right here. And the negative cable took a turn for the worse up there. Let's see if we can put our eyes on it. Oh, there it is. So it can come down. There we go. And here is the harness. So we have this. And now we can put the cover back on. So our progress so far, we've got the two cables attached to the battery, the negative and the positive over there. They are then coming together here, running around here, going underneath there and across the top. And once they get to the other side, it comes out and down, and there's the rest of it laying on the ground. So the next step is getting under there and finishing the path to the alternator, marking the length, and then cutting them to length, terminating the cables, and then replace the alternator. We'll come around here. The ground cable is going to attach here, and the positive cable is going to attach where this positive cable now attaches, and we're going to have both of them there. We're not going to eliminate what exists, we're going to add to what exists. There's the mark. That's where we're going to cut the black cable. And the positive cable is going to go on up. Cut that red cable right there. Let's trim these cables. Put some ends on them. We've got some heat shrink. And this time we're going to crimp. I'm going to show you how to do the crimping part. So I got some crimpers for this size cable, and we're going to crimp these on because working with the flame and everything else around here just makes me too uncomfortable. so there's that. This is a new knife that I got for Christmas from my daughter. I'm not sure this is how she intended me to use it, but hey, what the hell, right? There we go. It's really a sharp knife, I tell you that. We're going to slide these on there. Slide this one on there. The connector. Lay that in there, just like so. And crimp. It's that easy. And I don't know if you can see that, but you can see that that's crimped evenly all the way around, and that ain't coming off. So all we got to do is the same thing to the negative cable, and that is that. So now you have two different ways you can put these connectors on. You can terminate this kind of cable. Either way is acceptable. Not one way is better than the other way. But I just thought I'd show you one way before we got under the car, and the other way this way. Boy, I sure hope I got the measurements right, because right, you can't take it back, right? You just can't take it back. There we go. Slide that down. We will get the heat gun out and shrink that puppy right up. There we go. Nice and even. It's all shrunk up. Looking really good. We'll put some red tape on this just so we can make sure we know that what we're connecting to, just like we did at the other end, and put a piece of tape around there. There we go. Done and done. Alright, so now what we got to do is we got to take this off. We got to take the plate off down there. let's get started on clearing out the way so we can get to the alternator bolts from the top here. There's 2 of them up there, and then down at the bottom. Now that I have these bolts both out, I'm going to go after, right back here, and it's really hard to see in all this darkness, is the 13 millimeter nut that's keeping the power connection on the alternator, and I'm going to take that off right now. I just put the wrench on the tensioner and took the belt off. Gotta loosen and get this off, and this alternator will then fall in our laps. Well, let's go the other direction and see what happens. Alright, so now it's time to get the new alternator up in place. This is the hardest part of the whole thing, because keeping them bolts up there while I push it in place and get them started is not the easiest thing in the world to do. These top bolts have to be in the holes before you put it up there, because there's no way of getting them bolts in them holes once it's in there if you just start the bottom bolt first without putting these in the holes. So be aware of that. And that is the hardest part of the job, is to keep them in the proper position while you start the lower bolt. Go, got it. Go on the top and get those top bolts started. It's a lot easier to do that from the top. Now let's go back in the bottom here, and we have to take this bottom bolt back out, because we have to put the ground strap in that bolt hole, the new ground strap. Okay. Do the same on top. There we go. That's done. And now we'll just have to put the belt back on before we wire it up. So I do have both cables connected down there. The auxiliary one, the one I just built, and the original. So the cabling that we built is in addition to what was already existing. So you can see the original cable follows this path and connects, and the new cable right from the battery follows that path and connects. Pop that back in place till it clicks. We heard it click. And the alternator is in place and tight. All of it is done. And now all we got to do is put the CAI back in place, and I'm not going to detail that because yours is going to be, again, way different than mine. So put back everything you took out of the way to get to the alternator, and you'll be fine. We're all done down here. All the covers are on, back in place. Just the only thing we got to do now is reconnect the battery and put it on the ground, start it up. Let's see if it's going to charge, right? Because I think we're done. Well, we're going to check the charging system, and it looks like we got a good 14 plus volts going on. We're a winner chicken dinner on the charging system. We are officially good to go. All right, as promised, I told you at the end of the video, I'm going to show you my final solution for all the battery connections. And as you can see, that quick connect just wasn't going to do the job. So I bought some billet cable ends, as you can see, with multiple connections and an additional piece I put in there so we can mount connections independently of each other. So here's where the fuel pumps engage. This is the new cable for the alternator, and the starter cable and the original alternator cable is down below, and it's in its own connection, just like you see here. And I drilled and tapped a hole here, bought a sleeve and a long bolt so I can put the fuses out here off to the side just like you would normally see it. So this is my final solution. The billet works really well, great connections, and I'm really satisfied with that connectivity. Let's keep all this excitement alive and watch the next video I got queued for you. I had YouTube pick it out especially for you. I'll see you in that video in just a moment. Hey, thanks for watching.